So without further ado, I will invite my amazing and exciting panel. Nora, please come up from the FAO. You saw Nora in the video. Violet Amoabeng. She is the founder of Skin Gourmet. Madam Alima Sagito, who is the executive director of Savannah Women's Development Agency. Thank you very much. And I'm looking for a gentleman. I don't know if he's in the audience. His name is Jeffrey Sam. There's Jeffrey Sam. Thank you, Jeffrey. Welcome. Who's actually a principal extension officer for Cocoa Health Extension, Cocoa Board. Thank you. So we're going to have a conversation, and really I'm so excited and looking forward to this session. Nora, my goodness, that video, that was amazing. And tell us the background of you working in that landscape. That was 2015, am I correct?
Thank you very much. Actually, that video was done in 2011. It was during the celebration of the dryland forests. It was the year of dryland forests. And it was done, of course, produced in order to raise awareness, but also exchange the good experience that communities have been implementing together with the governments and with the different sectors in combating desertification through the restoration of acacia, Senegal, and Seal-based, what we call in our jargon the agro-silvopastoral system. So it's landscapes or mosaics of the tree with the crop and the fodder. And this was a project actually, as you've seen, that was funded by the Italian government and that was implemented in 6 countries for food security to support producing countries of gum in order to really increase and improve the food security and the livelihoods in this region. It involved 6 countries, including Senegal. And at that time, you've seen that we were saying, you know, we need more resources to scale up the project. And so the good news is that we raised the funding thanks to the support of the European Union. And this is actually, and it is scaling up through the Great Green Wall for the Sahara and the Sahel Initiative that involves normally over 20 countries, but our project involved 6 countries in the Great Green Wall, area. And it has actually 2-3 components that are very important and interlinked. From one side, working with the communities and the women for organizing themselves in what we call the GAPAs, you know, the Gam Arabic Producer Associations, equip them with the technical know-how and with the tools in order to sustainably manage the landscapes with the acacia Senegal and acacia Seal, as well as restoring them, so through seeding and seedlings. This is one. And the second component that was really very interesting, which is actually related to some questions that we all have, should we mechanize? You know, we say always that there is the traditional knowledge of the half moons. You know, women, how many of us have seen women, you know, digging half moons under 40, 45 degrees? I tell you, it's really very hard. I have never done it myself, but it is very hard. So through this project, we have introduced or tested this, what we call the delfino. It's like the dolphin, in order to, which is mimicking actually the handmade digging, in order to dig, to harvest water even more in depth, so to have better, let's say, deeper half moons, and faster, because desertification is really, really very fast. So these are two things that have been very important. And the third point, the third component was really to support the access to markets. You've seen the middleman, yeah? There is a middleman, and we have still challenges, and we are still working on it to ensure that equitable benefits from this big international, market of the gum arabic returns to the local communities and to the producing countries. For instance, for example, Chad in 2013, with its 30,000 tons of gum arabic exported, it was actually representing 7% of their GDP. So just to say how much this market is very important, from one side for the environment, because using the gum arabic non-timber forest product, which is really a product from the forest, can be sustainable, of course, if we sustainably manage the forest, and also we have the good harvesting techniques to not damage the tree. So this is very important to say. And as well as, of course, supporting and linking really the market, linking the communities to the market, and having the women empowered, in decision making and in getting more returns to their community. So maybe I will stop there, and then if you have any question, I can continue.
Thank you so much. My goodness, 7% of the DG, I'm even trying, my goodness. No, I'm in shock, because every time we hear about Chad in the news, we're hearing about, it's a poor country, and they're suffering, and the pictures of Sahelian women, and they're, suffering and drying of a lake and everything. I could not imagine 7% from gum. That is phenomenal. What I want to find out from you, in really trying to, so this is 2011, you're trying to help them to access markets and also sort of managing that middleman dynamic. Did it work?
Actually, we are not doing it alone. One of the great outcomes also from that project, which was supporting what we call the building and the strengthening of what we call the network NGARA, Network for Natural Gums and Resins in Africa, that gathers actually 15 member countries. Its secretariat is based in Kenya. So through the network that is really aligning not only the producer side, like the forestry departments and the producer communities, but also the companies, the businesses within the countries and outside, in order, the processors, and the traders, in order to find ways and strategies to ensure that this market really is more beneficial. And we are still working on it. We are building a further program, because it really takes time, a further program to get an understanding and intelligence about how the market is working, because it's also changing, and how which are the different levers that we can work on in order to get the benefit to the local communities and the women in particular and the youth.
Well, thank you so much on really articulating that, especially the issue of gathering intelligence, because a lot of times the women are so busy just trying to collect the produce and do what they have to do every day without really understanding these market dynamics, the complexities, and how that works. I want to go to Alima, because you work with a lot of women in your community and would like to hear about your organization. How many of these women are you working with? What exactly are you doing? I'm just really curious.
Yes. Good evening. Yes, like she said, my name is Haji Alima. I'm coming from Ghana and the northern part of Ghana, located specifically in Tamale. Our organization is Savannah Women Integrated Development Agency, with the emphasis on women. We are an organization that works specifically looking at what are the opportunities that women can access, can transform to be able to live better lives. We currently are having as many as 180 women groups of 30 women each. So you can do the calculation, it's not a small number. We also have about 30 FBOs. For them, they are mixed groups. That means there are also men in it. What have we been doing? We've been doing so much with them in terms of farming. But for the past 5 years, we've been looking critically at a particular thing that is what a lot more of our women depend on, that is the share. For us in the northern Ghana, the share is our cocoa. And I know, if I ask a question here, how many of us today did not spare pomade? I don't think I'll get anybody. All of us will raise our hands. And if you look at the ingredients, you will see shea there. Shea is a wild and indigenous tree. It is that type of tree crop that can take up to 20 to 40 years to be able to give you quality nuts. So what it means is that, and it is also wild to the extent that planting it is not an easy thing to do. It takes so much effort, so much investment, so much commitment. Now, we are working with women whose livelihood depends besides the farming. And one thing too I would like you to note is that in the north of where I come from, our farming season is only one, as compared to the south where they have 2 seasons. So our other source of income is the shea tree. The shea tree, the nuts, the process into butter, is what the women rely on as their next alternative source of money. And I would like to tell you that the shea tree annually engages between 900,000 to 1 million women. Picking nuts, these are pickers. These are not those you can count along the shea value chain. You should clap. It's very important that a tree that takes that much of years, but that is what women depend on. So what it tells us as an organization is to how do we get this shea tree protected for the sustainability of these women and their families. Now, what we've been doing critically is to say that there is also another issue of access and control of where the shea parklands are. Shea is not that type of tree, it's protected in parklands. So what happens is that it's more of family ownership. And then, so if your husbands or your don't have more, it means that as a woman, where are you picking from? And because it takes so long to grow, you cannot also go and say that women should go and invest their money 20 years and wait for returns. So what we are trying to do, and we've been doing, is to work with these women to make sure that we get them empowered in terms of capacity. We've been training them, we've been reorganizing them into stronger cooperatives with skills in advocacy and district level engagement, so that on their own, because we are looking at more of a bottom-up approach to the solutions that is there. We as external facilitators, we don't need to generate the ideas. We work with them to generate the ideas. So all we do is try to give them the right information with the right sources and the right capacity to engage the traditional authorities. Currently, as we speak, each of the communities that we work will be able to get the traditional authorities agree to give some parklands to the women so that they can have what we call the usufruct rights over those properties. And with that, it means that they are able to invest in making sure that the natural ones that fall and they are growing, they conserve them and make sure that they keep them to be able to grow. And also because of the quality of the shea tree, the charcoal from the shea tree is what usually people prefer. And those of us from the south, all the charcoal we use in the south is coming from the north. And I want to tell you that if we don't reorganize that, it means that we are contributing to getting some women off their livelihood. Because they are cutting down the trees, a tree that will take 40 years to give you fruit. Then you cut it down just to do charcoal. So this is some of the advocacy that we are doing, trying to work with the women, give them alternative livelihood. And as you do that, the charcoal is being burned mostly by the men. So it also brings another issue of how do we not do standalone projects so that you do projects targeting only one side and another side is left and they must also survive. So they use that issue of survival to go and cut down the trees that you are trying to protect. So that gives us another idea that we need to work through the men, we need to work with the men. And fortunately for us, in the north, there is no single house. All the politicians that we have in Ghana, especially from the north, are testifying that it is the share that has contributed and paid a lot of them their school fees. Women you go there and the woman has picked the nut, bags and pile just because of tomorrow. When the son comes, when the daughter comes and says school fees, you just fetch a bowl and go and sell. Get that instant money, give it to the child to go and pay the fees, to go and buy the teaching and learning material. That will encourage the child to be able to do. So these are issues that we want to talk about, and I want to thank FAO for the platform. I came in not to talk on share, but as we move and progress, and I'm so passionate, I saw a lot of passion as I also raised the issue of share, especially those that have to do with rights and control over the share parklands. And they gave me opportunity to come and let us talk. This is a big advocacy platform. I want all of us to look at share as a global commodity that all of us need. We don't need to allow the share trees that we have now. They are being degraded at a vaster rate just to produce charcoal for us. They are being degraded and being replaced by government to be able to go into plantations. Plantations that the women more often than not do not have access to. The planning does not involve them. Nobody, because already the land is not for them. So when they are doing the plantation, they just go plant. The farmer, the owner of the land come and say, just take over the place. And then cut down the trees, they replace with mangoes, they replace with other trees. So we are trying to, as much as possible to put it on the global platform for all of us to start discussing issues of share. The tree it's not like these short-term trees. It takes so long. So if we don't discuss it and protect what we have and conserve and also do enrichment on the parklands, the time will come where all the countries that we have, I know share is in about 21 African countries, we are all going to have issues. For now, share is even preferred as part of the ingredients for cosmetics, and it is really very, very good. For North, share is food. Share is food for us because you will eat it. We eat the pulp from it direct. You just wash it and you will eat and you'll be satisfied. So share is just not share. It's not just butter for us. For us, share is everything. And we are not ready to allow share to get extinct. So I just want to put it on this platform for all of us to support the agenda of making sure that share is put on the global scale for discussion. In Ghana, share is put under cocoa board, and therefore much attention is not given to it. We are working on it, discussing it, and it's being flagged for discussion, and we are just hoping that with this platform that is going live, more countries will hear of it. All people who are using share should be concerned that it is important that the tree is protected so that the quality that Ghana share produce. We provide issue of traceability. You can always see the women, you can see them. There's fair trade where you work with women, and we want them to be there always, and we want them to generate the income, and we want these women to see share as the alternative source of income that it gives them. And we'll be able to educate our children. Until we do that, we will be leaving people behind.
Yes.
The slogan of leave no one behind will not happen.
Yeah.
We want to leave no one behind. Women want to move along with their children because their children are with them. And if we ignore the critical area that gives them incomes and give them happiness. It means that we are denying them the opportunity to be happy themselves, confident themselves, to be able to carry along people. They need to train people with confidence, they need to train with happiness, and they need to do it with the idea that they want to contribute to sustainable development of themselves, of their households, of their communities, of their districts, of their regions, and therefore globally. And we want to be recognized for that kind of role by giving us the right resources that we need. Thank you.
Thank you, Haj Halima. Oh my goodness, this is amazing. So people, when you actually are using shea butter, just think about this. 40 years. 40 years it took to finally land on my skin. It is important that you understand that the vulnerability of a landscape, and it only grows in this pseudo-Sahelian range. It doesn't grow anywhere else in the world, just that range. Now, you have actually taken us very nicely to the next speaker, right next to you, Violet. Oh my goodness. So, Halima has just talked about how they source this shea, how they're trying to protect through her organization with the women, and really trying to help them and trying to get the world to understand that these women are really doing an amazing, amazing job of trying to protect and have these plants and trees protected, and so that the landscape is not degraded. It's very sad I'm hearing about this story on plantations, clearing land for monocultures, which is even more problematic. Violet is the founder of Skin Gourmet, and I'm sure some of you have seen her products out there. They are so yummy. Now, a friend of mine said something, and she's a dermatologist. She said something that was fascinating. She told me, when you look at a product on a shelf, if you cannot pronounce the name of the ingredient in the product, or let alone understand what it is, and you cannot eat it, it should not be going on your skin. Because your skin is the largest breathing organ. It takes in everything. And Violet is an amazing young woman who started this company 5 years ago called Skin Gourmet, because really it is gourmet. This tree that takes 40 years plus, using shea butter products, using produce from the land, mixing them in a very natural way, packaging them through this value chain, and sharing it with the world, sharing it with us. So we want to hear about your journey. Where do you source these products? How many women are you working with? We're so excited.
Okay, so my name is Violet. That's a very brilliant introduction, thank you. So we deal in raw handmade skincare, sourced from the wild, and it's so pure that you can eat it. So I started Skin Gourmet 5 years ago, and the reason was because it was during the Hamatan season, and my lip would always split every so often because of the dryness. So I went to pharmacy and I'm like, oh my gosh, my lips is like dried out, what should I do? They're like, you have a cold sore. I'm like, no, I don't have herpes. So my friend says to me, why don't you just try regular shea butter instead of using all these other creams that you've imported and you can swear by. So I was like, okay. So then I went and I found shea butter at just a regular market. No, it wasn't organic, nothing special about it, and my lip healed within 3 days, no scarring. So I started looking at my creams. I'm like, so what's in here? And I started to realize that a lot of these ingredients are not to really heal me or for my benefit, but they're to make me buy it. That means that they have preservatives. They're supposed to smell a certain way, have a certain texture, but it's not actually about the health of my skin. So I was like, okay, all right, there's a need here. So I set out and I said, I'm gonna make the best body butter the world has ever seen. This is without any research, without any, I didn't even go on the internet to find out what the market was like. I didn't know that it's like such a booming industry. So I got all my different ingredients, and at first I started with ingredients from all over the world. And I remember I made my first 3 formulations, and I went to church, and I said, God, I have 3 containers in my wardrobe. Give me a company. And at the same time, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, you're not really giving the guy much here to work with. So meditation, of course, prayer, he said, look around you. See what's here in your country. So I started researching, what do we use in our culture? In the north, in the west, in the south, what are we doing? And I started looking at shea butter. I started looking at coconut oil. I started looking at moringa oil. And I was like Wait, whoa, hold on. You mean to tell me we can eat our skincare? Like, it completely blew my mind. So I started researching more, and I realized that, we're moving so far away from our culture without realizing that we're moving because the Western world says, let's automate it, this is the way, but that's because it's scarce over there. But we have a lot of it over here. So we realize that what you put on your body is going to end up in your body. So if you can't eat it, why would you put it on your skin? Mind blown. So I started researching. So I went deeper into researching how it's manufactured. And so, for example, we go to the north, and what we do is our women also pick from the wild. It's not from farms. And the reason why is because, okay, first was because we didn't have the money for organic certification, but also because it's actually much more healthy. They don't use pesticides, they don't use fertilizers, so I know that the source I'm getting it from is a good source. That's number one. Number two, these women that we're buying the seeds from, they're getting livelihood. And then number three, once you get the seeds, we have more women. Right now we work with community over 200 women, and they make the shea butter from hand using traditional techniques. We don't want any machines. So Skin Gourmet, we believe in handmade. And everyone always says to me, okay, so you said handmade, so when you're supplying all these big supermarkets, how are you going to supply? I'm like, we'll just hire more people. And that's the plan of what we want to stick with. Also because the process of how shea butter is made. Like you were just saying, when you're putting shea butter on, you should be like, oh, this is 40 years. Yeah, this is 40 years. And have you seen them churn shea butter? Like knead it with the hand? It takes 40 minutes. Like 40 minutes doing this with your hand. Most of us cannot do that. That tells you that even the value of what we have is amazing. Apart from that, there's absolutely no chemicals used, and it is food grade. Again, as you said, it's food. This is used for cooking, this is used for eating. Every time that we buy from these communities, one community we buy from is from Bonyayili, and right now they've been able to build a hospital, they're able to educate their kids, so this is putting livelihood back into that community, so they don't have to move down to Accra, they don't have to come and look for jobs, especially these are people who don't have a university education. So this gives them a chance to branch out into, and also to invest in what they've learned, into our culture. What we lose those trees, not only do we lose the plants, not only do we lose oxygen, we lose our culture. Because once there's no shea butter, nobody's going to know how to churn it, nobody's going to know how to make money from it, and the next thing you're going to realize, it's dead. Exactly. So I think it's important for us to look at the preservation of the trees, not just at the trees, but at who it affects. Now, if you look at a company like ours, we get the shea butter, then what do? We bring it to Accra for light processing. We don't do package and ship the raw material outside for them to then change it for us and then import it back to Ghana for us to buy. We do finished products, and then we send it out. So this affects taxes. We hire companies only in Ghana, so our packaging comes from Ghana. Our designer, when we first started, was a single guy. And I went up to him and I'm like, I want to have chic packaging. I want like it to be, international standards, but I want it cheap. He's like, from who? So he decided to do it and found a way to do it innovatively. Now he has his own company called Design Box. He hires his people, he pays his taxes. At the moment we started where it was just me, I would come home from my work, I'd go and do the products, I would package them, take them to market and sell it. But now we are a staff force of permanent staff, 14 people, of which 11 are women. So if we're given these chances and our raw material, natural resources, trees, clay, moringa, shea, coconut, not only is it going to help the women who are in the rural areas, but us young people who are coming out of school, because right now in Ghana, unemployment is an issue. But it's also an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to create something for ourselves. And it's easier to create something for yourself when it's actually offered by the environment, especially when it's here. It gives you a competitive advantage because it isn't everywhere. So we can tap into our own natural resources and grow beyond aid because we're creating businesses. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so impressed. I mean, just even hearing about how the fact that you're actually sourcing from this community and paying them a fair wage, that they've managed to actually have a hospital built. This is absolutely amazing. But also hearing, this element of creating employment. And you're right, and I think in this last day, we've been discussing the role of cultural leaders and culture keepers, and also the role of culture. And indeed, when we lose these trees, we lose our culture. And we tend to forget that, which is actually quite important. I want to come to you, Geoffrey. You are in the business of extension. And growing up in Zambia, every time I grew up in a rural town, and every time I would see these people from agriculture coming over within our community explaining the seed and all of that, I just thought, oh, he's back again. And I would be looking at my grandmother listening to him, and I would be like, oh, whatever. It took me many years to actually understand the role and importance of extension, and really going to the community. And what we've heard from the three ladies and the women that are in the landscape and doing all this work, and the men as well who are in there. Tell us something about, in terms of the role of the work that you do, the extension services. What does that mean within the context of the business sector?
Yeah, thank you very much. In fact, thank you for this opportunity. With the cocoa extension, we are giving farmers information that we derive from the research, that's the cocoa research, and then we try to break it down to their understanding for them to implement whatever will help them to improve yield and then improve their livelihood. However, when you come to our division, we are also into the treatment of diseases, specifically the cocoa swollen shoot viral disease, which cannot be cured, but we need to destroy and then replant. So it is our mandate that we survey the cocoa areas, identify that particular disease, and then ensure that those diseases do not spread to other non-infected farms. And so we monitor and ensure that we cut them. And when we cut, Cocoa Board have packages for all those farmers that we are going to treat their farms. Aside that, our industry is also, through the extension division, giving packages to so many packages to farmers, either in a form of subsidy or free support in the form of farm inputs. For example, Cocoa Board yearly raise 60 million hybrid cocoa seedling to farmers. And when it gets to that point, we consider both farmers, whether the gender is male or female. We identify farmers who want to go into new establishments, farmers who actually are going for refill of vacancies of their old farm or existing farms. We also try to give them support through our CODAPEC, that is Cocoa Disease and Pest Control Program. We try to give farmers free of charge agrochemicals to support, to augment whatever they can buy. And additionally, the Extension Division also each month have developed models that they normally meet organized groupings. That's group of farmers, whether male or female, and then we try to educate them on good agronomic practices, which we believe that if the farmers are able to acquire that skill in the shortest possible time, we should be able to increase productivity and then improve their livelihood. Again, Cocoa Board also believe that our farmers have become aged. And so what they have task extension to do is that we normally map the farms, and then we try to also come in with other support initiative. For example, we believe that farmers' attitude has led to the reduction of ranges that causes, that actually improve pollination and improve yield. So this time, Cocoa Board is recruiting much younger people to support in the area of pollination, and they are doing it through the Extension Division. What we do is that we normally organize groupings, and then they go in there and then make sure that the farmers adopt the good agricultural practices. Where the flowers come, we go in and do the pollination for them free of charge. Aside that, where we believe that farmers are aged and they cannot work on the farm, sometimes we believe the situation of diseases and pest control is very tedious job. So Cocoa Board, in its own initiative, has gangs in place, cited in advantageous points. We give them chemical to go in to the farms to go and do their spraying for them. This spraying that we do normally should have covered six in terms of the black pod control, that is the fungal attack, and then 3 for the capsid. But where the farmers have problems with other incidences coming in later on, we cite them to buy their own chemical to support the cost. And we have been doing this for so many years, and farmers have been very happy with our initiative.
Thank you. This is fascinating. Now, tell me something. Cocoa grows under trees, right?
Yes.
Correct. So it requires that we actually have a standing forest for it to grow.
You are right.
So it requires that we do not degrade our forest, otherwise the cocoa will not grow, correct?
You are right.
Fantastic. So when you're eating your chocolate, remember, it has to be under the tree.
Yes. And let me also remind you that with the cocoa that we are growing, we always initiate a move whereby for each acre, a farmer needs to plant not less than 6 economic trees.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, very exciting, but I need to seek some clarification from you. You say that you help the farmers with pollination. Isn't that the job of the bees?
Yes.
So are you talking about bees or are you talking about human pollinators?
Yes, so this is artificial hand pollination done by humans. Actually, I was telling you that per our attitude, farmers' attitude, the bees population has reduced drastically. In fact, they are not bees per se, they are minges. But what is happening is that if the minges are not there, it means that yield will drastically be reduced.
So why have the bees disappeared?
Yes. So
why have they disappeared?
Indiscriminate use of agrochemicals and other things. Yes.
I was waiting for that one. So this bee extinction, the mass extinction of insects, this is a very, very problematic one. So we also need to rethink the kind of products that we use in our landscapes. That's also a very critical element. I know that we're running a little bit out of time, and I'm sure there must be a couple of maybe 3 burning questions out there. I want to give the audience an opportunity maybe to just ask a question. I don't know if we've got ashes, so I'll take 1 from that side, 1 from the middle. Anyone from this side? Okay, we've got questions. My ashes, please. Anybody has a mic? Yes, the mic is coming down. So the gentleman over there, please. The gentleman in the middle up there, just right there in the green shirt. If you can introduce yourself, sir.
Thank you very much. My name is Kwame Edu, and I work for an organization called Bees for Development Ghana. So I have very interesting news for Alima, the chair lady, and also for Nora. Like I said, Bees for Development Ghana. We support farmers to keep bees. And first, if the projects for acacia could also be incorporated with beekeeping, then the farmers can earn more. There are simple methods, sustainable methods to make people keep bees and get the necessary benefits. Then for Alima and her project and her ladies, the men are not part of it, so they are cutting down the shade trees for charcoal. Let's teach the men to keep bees and produce honey, and then they will protect the forest trees. So, a project which will involve the men and supporting you to keep bees. The environment is organic, there are no chemicals, and one product, apart from the honey, which could also certify as organic, is organic beeswax, which the cosmetic people can use, very organic, no chemicals sprayed, and this could complement the benefits of your project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kwame. That's very exciting. There was a hand somewhere in the middle. Yes, just down here, please. The gentleman in the green, over here. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Constant Akwensi Selassie, or Ni Akwensi. I work with the Ghana Traditional Council and also Global Eco Village Network, Ghana Permaculture Institute. My question first goes to the ladies who are promoting the project involving the ladies. Many a time we realize that women empowerment is the most thing we're speaking about now. What about like for example, you're having a problem with a man cutting down the tree. Why don't we think of a program that can inculcate or integrate the two families together, or the one family, that the two people are partners that are playing, that can be easier in addressing? Because now, when you solve problems from the women's side, and the men are also creating a different problem, it's a problem. You see, and I think with the cocoa board, I want to know what are the organic system or traditional means that they are using in terms of cocoa production in Ghana too, because we know a lot of chemicals are affecting the country, like Monsanto now coming in to use GMO, genetically modified organisms. So going forward, and we realize that most of the promotion come from the government offices. They come to the farmer communities and tell them there's a new product, there's new idea. So going forward, how can we involve more organic or traditional sustainable ways of approaching the farming system in cocoa production areas, so that we can protect the land? Because, for example, you're talking about the bees. It's because of the too much chemical using. It's killing the bees, it's killing the insects. So we humans, we are harming nature beyond just trees. So we should think further of adopting more natural, sustainable way, because nature was sustainable before we came. So we should live in hand with nature so that we can have a better life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Akwensi. Should we take another question? Any ladies? Oh, there's a lady at the back there. I'm sorry to just, we'll take a question from you. There's a lady at the back. If you can give us your name, please.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Zainab Abdullahi. I'm with YPAD Ghana. My question goes to Auntie Hajia Halima. I think I relate so much with the explanation and the narrations you gave. I'm also from the Upper West region, specifically Sisala West. And most of our women are into shea butter production, and these trees are grown in the world, and the men are cutting down these trees. So I don't know, do you have, with your organization, do you have room for collaboration with other regions, not necessarily with the northern region, and how best can we also involve our people in championing the cause, in sustaining the shea industry in Ghana? And then also to Cocoa Board, under PED, Planting for Food and Export, I read that there's a component trying to develop a hybrid for the shea. And we also learned that some seedlings have been, they have started nursing some of the seeds into seedlings. How far have you gone, and how accessible is it? Does it come with a cost? And if farmers in other areas want to have access to this seedlings, how do we go about it? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zainab. Thank you. So I think let's start with you, Nora, going that way in terms of responding to the reactions. I think there was an issue with the bees and how that can be supported, and also this issue of our men. Are we including them in these initiatives, and why are we not, if we're not including them, and what seems to be the challenge? And also with Cocoa Board in terms of the issues that we're dealing with, the agrochemicals, sustainable methods, etc. So we'll start with you, Nora, going that way, please.
Thank you very much. I really liked your point regarding the bees. Actually, I didn't tell the whole story, and that's why the restoration, story should be given really as full as possible. What we have been doing actually with the scaling up of this work from the Acacia project within the Great Green Wall is first ask the communities what they want to see in their landscape. And I tell you what, there were like 200 species, in average, they were globally asking for having back to their land, barren land, 200 at least species, including woody, so from the trees, from the shrubs, and from grasses, to use from one side for honey production, for fodder, for gum arabic and balanitis, for soap and oil. And so many different species. So I wanted just to reassure you that honey and the beeswax is really part of the equation. And actually, for these landscapes in the drylands, in our drylands, we have many products, you know, the forest or the agro-silvopastoral system or the parklands, whatever we call it, there is a multiple diversity of species, you know, blessing. We are blessed by these species, either plants from grasses or shrubs or trees, and they are giving us different products. Many, few of many, which is great. So it's a diversity. And we are working with this diversity in order to develop also a diversified value chains, you know, products value chain. So while working on the gum arabic value chain, work with oil, with the balanitis oil and different others. And don't forget also the skins and the hides, because these are also from the livestock that are also living there. So I wanted just to say that this is really part of the equation, and it is really very important to work from the seed to the end product with all this diversity. And last but not least, just to finish, while we are saying men and women and so forth, of course, each part of the family or of the community is part of it, even, you know, children. And one value chain that is really important, and we do not talk a lot about it, is the value chain of seeds and maybe seedlings, you know, the genetic material, the diversity of these plants that we need to put back into these areas, these landscapes. And actually, we have been able, you know, the communities have been able themselves, women and men, to collect the good seeds and produce the seedlings in order to restore their land and even sell to the other neighboring villages and projects and programs in order to develop, because the seed centers, they do not have all the capacity required to get all these seeds, you know, produced. But of course, everything is accompanied with these technical, you know, practices and so on. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Violet, did you have any reactions to those questions?
Yes. So I think where he was talking about opportunities for men, in terms of with Skin Gourmet, we don't only deal with shea butter. We also deal with coconut oil, we deal with moringa, we deal with hibiscus, we deal with coffee. And one of our major ingredients is wild northern honey. So for us, it's extremely important for us to preserve the bees. That's exactly why we harvest from the wild, because we don't want anything that has pesticides or anything that has fertilizers in it. Now, going on to the part about the men. So what we found is that you're right. A lot of the share, there's women who are involved. But once these trees are able to create other businesses, some of those businesses don't just focus on shea. Like, for example, with us, we focus on, like I said, moringa and coconut. So this gives men the opportunity to farm in order to produce these other products which we can use. But other than that, in terms of the value chain towards the end, in Skin Gourmet, we have 3 employees that we've started companies for, so that they can run their own businesses. And the plan there and the hope there is that they will be able to employ more people, so therefore it wouldn't just be a man-woman thing, but it would be everybody working.
Thank you. So basically, you've been an incubator, basically providing an opportunity for somebody to start a business from learning from you from the inside, which is absolutely fascinating. Haj Halima, over to you.
Yes, thank you very much. I want to appreciate all those of you contributed to the share, especially giving opportunity for collaboration. It's very important that we do that, because this is not an industry that one person or one organization can succeed. So collaboration is always the way to go. So we welcome your partnership. And then we're also starting a similar thing, but it's important to adapt. So we would definitely like the partnership. Also to my sister, in terms of where you are coming from. We have been doing a project already in Upper West region, because I'm also from Upper West actually, even though I'm married and work in the Northern region. So I can't do things leaving my house. So I also do a lot of activities in Upper West as well. We are doing a project in Lambusie and then part of the Sala area, trying to, where she is actually coming from, trying to talk to chiefs, using the women to be able to give them the parkland, to be able to plant trees. Because I want them to plant some of the seedlings, the grafted ones from the, because some of the districts are part of the PET. And as part of the PET, they are being registered to give the seedlings for the share, which we are also discussing. One thing we also do very well is to let the people know what are the government opportunities that are there. Because more often than not, the women are sitting down, they don't know what is happening, they go to farms, all they do is cooking, doing more of the unpaid care jobs, so they don't have time to listen to what is happening. So as facilitators, we also give them information what is there and how they can also access. And one of the ways is the PET that is coming on board to be able to also access some of the seeds. They are not starting in all the districts, but the selected districts that we are aware that they are doing that, we've told the women to also get some of the seedlings. I think they engage the universities, they've done some research, they'll produce some grafted seedlings that they are giving for them to replant into the afforested areas. Now, the other thing too we are doing, I know that under the FFF project that the FAO is doing, Peace and Farmer is the bigger national organization coordinating other producer organizations. And one key thing that the project we are intending to do is to look at alternatives activities that will not be so much, that will contribute to sustaining the environment, which is very critical. And one thing is the charcoal production. Because, and that one, it means that we are encouraging more of the farmers as part of the training to plant more trees that they will use on their own, do their own plantation, to be able to now use to produce the charcoal. That is not enough. There's also modern way of producing the charcoal. Even there's modern technology. People are now even using the shell, the waste from the shell, and training them to use that to produce the charcoal. And all these are trainings that we are giving and letting the people know. And these ones, more of the men are involved to do that, so that they can also help us protect the shade trees. And then the critical thing also has to do also with the fact that we want these women to have the right of control and access so that they can really invest. We are looking at restoration and you need money. That is investment and you need returns. And if you don't have the direct access of the benefit at the end of the day, you won't invest in it. So that is another thing that we are doing. And that one, the men, fortunately, the traditional leaders are understanding from that level. Because we are using the argument of get the woman empowered with resources and their whole household nutrition, everything, education is improved. So men stand to benefit and they are seeing it from that angle and we are getting a lot of support. The rate is low, but we will get there. And the men are ready, given where we are coming from, and the argument and the fact that it is their own women who are now asking for that. This is not an external kind of input coming. It's the women from their facilitation that we have done, and they are leading it. So therefore, it's important and it's going to work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, Jeffrey.
Yeah, with the organic farming, let me assure you that Cocoa Board is into integrated pest management. All our models that we are training farmers on is to ensure that we go into preventive and with the final decision of being curative. So it's not just like going in with the chemicals. We have backstopping of chemicals there, all right, but then the extension agent visits the farmers, try to help them do the right thing to prevent incidents of disease and pests. But where there is maybe outbreak and we think that diseases and pest situation is reaching a particular threshold, then we go into control. And that is why you are. And apart from that, we have also organized farmer groups who are into strictly organic farming. And we give, they give them premium for whatever input that they are doing. With respect to the share, like said by Alima, it is Cocoa Research Institute of Ghana that is investigating and coming out with the early bearing varieties through their grafting technique and all those things. It is strictly under pilot project because we need to monitor and see whether it will work out, and then we'll expand. So I can assure you that with time, maybe you come to our desk and you have the opportunity of having some of the ceilings. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We have heard from these amazing individuals several things. I mean, when we look at sustainable development goals and when we look at the definition of landscapes, the integrated definition of landscapes, we're talking about different things. We heard about the issue of climate from Nora. These landscapes that are ravaged and changing, temperatures rising. When we talk about 1.5 degree worlds, some people in this part of the continent are living that 1.5 degree life. And when we talk about nutrition, the food systems, Alima, I mean, shea, I didn't even realize that you can eat it, but since you can put it on your skin and really use it every day, surely you should be able to eat it. This is amazing. Partnership, collaborations, extension services. I think for me, this is the epitome of what Sustainable Development Goals mean. Social, environmental, and economic. This was what Sustainable Development Goals look like. Can we have a round of applause? Thank you so much for being the voices that enhance and bring to us the stories of women out there who may not have been able to come over here and tell their stories, but we're so glad that these individuals were here. And thank you so much for you all in the audience. Apologies if you're not able to actually ask your question. And for all of those streaming in live, thank you so much for sitting at your desk or looking at your phone and listening to this amazing GLF Accra. We're so excited to have you online. Thank you so much and have a great afternoon and a great GLF.